Hi everybody, and welcome to the second week of APG 50/50 Communications Media Studies Research Methods. This week we're going to be doing a couple of things. We're going to be thinking about how we can understand the nature of media influence, and also we're going to be getting started with our research projects by thinking about how we can use academic literature to identify researchable research questions. So we're going to be doing that with regard to a particular case study, and we're going to be talking about the example of WikiLeaks. And in particular, we're going to be talking about an incident where WikiLeaks was deemed to have created all kinds of enormous political problems for the United States of America through the launching of a previously classified military intelligence. And this is an interesting case study because it allows us to really kind of pick holes into an idea that's really quite common throughout social life. When we're talking about media influence, quite often we talk about media technologies as doing things. So, for example, we might say that the rise of social media and digital media has fundamentally changed education forever. That we're dealing with, that old people like me are dealing with new forms of literacy from new student bodies, and that the way that we used to think about presenting information and getting people to interact with education have changed forever. So we're quite accustomed to the idea of thinking about media technologies as things that directly influence society. And what we want to do in this particular lecture is to kind of unpick that idea, to say, well, it's kind of simplistic to think that media cause social change all by themselves, that certainly media are important agents of social change, but to really bring about change, technologies and businesses have to interact with other things that are happening around our culture. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that by using WikiLeaks as an example. And essentially the argument we're going to make is that WikiLeaks remains a profoundly important media phenomenon, but it's something that's profoundly important because it's deeply connected to media businesses and other operations of various states around the world. So it's simplistic to think that WikiLeaks has changed the world simply by knowing how to use media technology in a particular way. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to connect this particular topic to some ideas that have been around in media studies for quite some time. And in looking at what some of those ideas are, we can also pick up some ideas about how we can go about asking our own research questions through reading academic literature. That is, we're going to start off by looking at the example of WikiLeaks in this first section here. And then what we're going to do is look at the literature that was written about WikiLeaks. And we're going to be seeing how different authors looked at the same case study and saw really different things in terms of what WikiLeaks said about the nature of media power. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to relate these debates that were happening about how revolutionary or not WikiLeaks was as a news organization, as an agent of change. We're going to be connecting those to some arguments and questions that have been around media studies for a really, really long time. And basically those arguments is, for example, when we look at media technologies, what we're going to be seeing is the argument that quite often the most profound impact of media technologies is that they actually don't change anything at all. Particularly in relation to power. One of the things we're going to be talking today is about the importance of connecting questions of the impact of media technologies to questions of social, political, economic, and cultural power. And then what we're going to be doing finally is we're going to be thinking about how, in going through that process, we're also taking steps that you will need to go through to firstly identify the sources that you're going to read for your annotated bibliography. So how do you find resources that take the same question or the same topic and find different perspectives on that question or topic? And then how do you put all of those ideas together in order to raise your own topic, to raise your own research question? So in short, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using WikiLeaks as a case study for doing two things. Firstly, thinking through the complexities involved in the idea of media and influence. And secondly, thinking about how we can use academic ideas to ask our own research questions. So that's what we're going to be doing in the following videos.